Hello everybody! Zeron for Terrible Damage and UwinMRage Esports going to bring you a game with UwinMRage's own representing. And we'll start with his opponent in the upper right, a red Terran. Weighing in at unknown number of pounds, it is MattFT. And UwinMRage's very own in the bottom left, the blue Zerg, UwinMRage. Alright, so this will be a TVZ on Daybreak. Very popular matchup. Can't go wrong here. Daybreak, solid map. May lean a little bit for Zerg here, but pretty good all around. This should be a good one. We got an early scout moving out. Wants to get inside before that wall is able to get up, and he should be there in plenty of time. No scout as of yet going out for our Terran player. Looks like he's rallied out to the natural. So, I guess he's just not going to scout. Alright. He is going one ras fast expand, so not super crazy command center first, but still a little tiny bit risky there. It's pretty safe to assume that his opponent is going to go hatch first. Very, very rare that we see anything but that, but there's not really any idea of what his Zerg opponent is doing beyond that. But here we go. Now we do have a scout going out. So a bit later, around 15 supply, but certainly no wall to contend with, and with the presumption of hatch first going down, this is actually a pretty good scout timing. He should be able to get to that base before any sort of Zerglings pop out. You see the spawning pool has just gone down, so it's going to be quite a while before we see any sort of actual defense. No queens, no lings, nothing. But the drone here is going to give chase, going to spot this hatch. Not sure he had to go quite that far up in order to get it, and we'll get a few pot shots in for his troubles from that drone. Go see double gas going up right immediately after this command center, even before supply depot. So this indicates a relatively quick factory, and presumably with the double gas into a starport for cloaked Banshee. So this will be a quicker variation. Sometimes you see it delayed a bit more than this, but going straight into it as quickly as possible can be a bit more aggressive and leaves a few more options open, including a mech transition if he should so choose. The expansion getting closer to completion, around 80% there. We do have this expansion up here. We do have a spine crawler going down. Just going to play it safe is our Zerg player, going to avoid spending that larva on any Zerglings, and just go straight up for that spine crawler immediately. 4 Zerglings will come out. He will want some sort of map presence, though. Likely take these towers and poke in at the front to see what exactly is going on. Right now, just these 3 Marines, which is what times out to get this reactor on that barrack. So we'll be swapping that out with the factory, and we'll be seeing some Hellions right away. Should be seeing a starport follow that right up. A little unusual that he has this queued up back here. Normally you place a starport a little more closer. Maybe he just doesn't want a wing to be able to move up that ramp and spot it. But, I mean, it's pretty fair assumption at this point with the metagame that you see Reactor Hellion off of 1rax FE, you're going to see a Banshee follow-up to that. So here come a couple lings. He has taken the watchtower. Here come those lings that poke in. He's not really going to be able to get anything with this Marine spread. And a bit of a slow reaction time. Looks like he's going to lose both of these lings. That's a bit unfortunate. Could have pulled those back if he were more on top of things. In the meantime, we just do have more drones coming up. We do have the double gas finished and just started here for MRage. That is around normal timing actually now, but it's a bit weird because he didn't go in for that quick third. Normally you see that late gas timing is following the ZVP path of having a quick third. So interesting to see what he goes in for. Is he going to go immediately into that speed or go layer first? Actually going to double upgrade go for double Evo chamber here. The Evo chambers are a good idea for the incoming Banshees, as we do see Cloak started. Actually starting Cloak before any Banshees. That's a bit of an unusual choice, perhaps suggesting that he is only going to go in for one Banshee. But that would also be a little unusual given the investment for Cloak. Normally if you could go 2 Banshee, you get the first Banshee going first and then Cloak, because you know you really want to do the damage with the 2 Banshees, and you're going to have those out. You're going to have Cloak done in time even if you start after the first one, but not a big deal. Here goes out that drone. That's not going to make it. There, the Hellions. That was their old role before the Queen buff, was to simply just stop and delay that 3rd expansion. Without extra Queens out here, he just has 4 at the moment. So I guess 2 extra. They're the ones to drive off the Hellions, pushing out a little early, cost him that drone, and some delay on his expansion. So that hurts a little. And for pretty much no investment on the Hellions, this Hellion will spot that expansion go down, so that's some good intel right there. We do have a double armory coming up and a 3rd command center. Looks like that command center would have gone up. I'm not sure of the exact timing. That's actually a little weird to have. I think he went armory, command center, armory. So not an exact build I'm familiar with, but very similar to a mech build that I've been following out of Braddock. I saw him use at DreamHack, where he does that immediate quick gas off of 1 max fast expand before depot, follows up, gets expansion into double armory, into adding on 2 factories, and then adding on the 2 gas at the natural. It's surprising how much you can get out of the 2 gas just at the main without going in for that gas at the natural for quite a long time. So this will be a mech play out of MattFT. So we'll have to see how MRage chooses to respond. If we actually look here, he just now sees that this is going to be a mech play. He had been investing in that Baneling nest. We'll see if he decides to cancel that, because Baneling's not particularly effective against mech, because the only light units you're really going to see are Hellions, and they should be able to kite those Banelings all day. Perhaps if you can lock them down with Fungal, you may be able to get in close and make them cost effective. That is one possibility, but it is much more difficult. Hellions going to clean up quite a few lings here. Not kiting very effectively there. Loses a Hellion perhaps unnecessarily, but definitely still cost effective. Going to clean up some creep here. Definitely wants to get that active creep tumor. There we go. And pushes it all the way back up the ramp. That is quite nice. So you look at the queen count right now. We do just have 4 queens at the end of 2 banshees. You want 2 of those 4 injecting. So it looks like there's going to be enough wings to clean up the Hellions. And the queens unite to push back the banshees. Don't pick off any, but do push them back for now. There wasn't any sort of economic damage done directly, only the forcing of lings being produced. And if we look at the losses here, Zerg, after Terran lost all those Hellions, did come out ahead in resources lost. So I'd say that's a win for our UwinMRage Zerg player. Now we do have this command center moving out to the 3rd. The layer is done, so he could be spewing creep right now to deny it. There we go. Just in time to get that blocked. So that's going to be quite annoying, particularly because there is the only... he does have quite a few Marines out here, so they'll be able to clean up the Overlord. Mech wants to delay that anti-air as much as possible, and it really is the difficult aspect of playing Mech, is making the decision between building tanks and Thors and later on Vikings, and whether or not you need those. Because you want tanks against roaches, but if you see a Muta player, which is often what you see out of Zerglings, then you need to get those Thors in the mix, because otherwise you're just a sitting duck with this army against the Mutas. And that's just not very good. You can also often be caught without an engineering bay, because it's not actually required for mech in terms of any sort of upgrades or tech path, but we do already have it out here for MattFT, so he's sitting pretty with that. No production going on in the factories right now, so that is a bit of a slip-up. But 13 mutas are on the way. We will see a Hellion spot this expansion here in the upper left. The creep spread, thanks to that slowing earlier, we haven't really seen any new creep tuners laid down, so that is going to be a weakness on MRage's side. But we'll have to see if these mutas are able to do anything. If we look at the vision of MattFT, I don't believe he has... Oh, he does have knowledge of the Spire, but there aren't actually any missile turrets anywhere. We just have the first Thor in production now. We do have a Viking out. That's certainly not going to be enough. Okay, we just now have a missile turret going up here. And that looks like it will just barely be in time. However, that does not cover the main base. MRage will have to be careful of that initial Thor popping out. Running over a few Marines and immediately loses a Mutalisk, so that was a bit sloppy there. But is going to do damage to the units here. Floats the Banshees to pull them back as they are expensive units, but we do have the Overseer there anyway, so it doesn't make a big deal. A magic box on this Thor will work, but he does have to be wary of a couple more Thors popping out any second. He does take out that Thor, but here comes another one. We do have flyer attacks started for MRage, so it looks like he is going to commit to the Mutalisk. I'm not sure about this choice now that he's showing them. What can be very strong is a tech switch. However, what we don't have is any option for that. MRage does not have any sort of roach worn down. The Mutalisk count is being worn down, and now that the SCVs are getting in to repair, it will stop it for a moment, but more Mutalisks move in, but the DPS just isn't there. A second Thor comes out to help in the fight, and these Mutalisks need to get out of there. They are never going to kill this Thor. We do have Zerglings run in that get roasted by those Hellions, and this attack has been thwarted just barely by MattFT, but now we can survey the damage. A lot of SCVs going down here. 20 workers killed. If we look at the worker count in this game now, it's 68 to 40. And a lot of units lost there from MattFT. The supply is relatively even, but the mech attack has been slowed significantly. And here comes a run-by with these Zerglings. And we had a huge number of mules drop there at the third. That hurts a lot after losing all of those SCVs. Going to clean up the lanes, but the damage is done. Forced the lift, killed off a bunch of mules, forced the mules back to the natural, losing a ton of mining time on those temporary units. The Hellions push out here. Now, there is a bit of a danger of a counterattack with these Hellions doing some economic damage. There are infestors back home, so that does help, but they aren't the most mobile. No defense here up here at the force, so these drones could be picked off. There is defense here at the third, but you can do run-bys with Hellions. You're not too worried about losing the Hellions as mech. You want to trade those off for the economy of your opponent, as typically you do have an excess of minerals. You need to spend that gas on upgrades and tech units from those factories, which are costly in terms of that gas. In terms of what we see out of our player MRage, he does have the Ultralisk Cavern finishing up in just a few seconds, so that is going to be his transition. But does he have the time to do it? We do have a push out around 150 supply. This is a common timing out of mech. The typical idea is to max out with mech, but that doesn't necessarily always match up with what's going on in the game, and 150 supply does have enough bulk in your army to potentially do a lot of damage if you make the right call in terms of moving out. In this case, there is the potential for damage being done, but you have to be very careful. A fungal on those Hellions and the Banelings crashing in could immediately wipe those out, and without the Hellion support, these units are completely dead to the Zergling force. A huge blow to the Zerglings with that initial volley, but the Banelings close the distance and take down a lot of Hellions, but that attack did not work. Moving in much too close with those infestors. The tanks doing a lot of damage in the back and cleaning up that force immediately. A couple ultras do pop out, and we do have another infestor, but this is going to be very hard hold at this point. We'll see how much damage MattFT can inflict here I think MRage should be able to hold this with reinforcements, but we'll see how much damage he ends up taking. The Ultralisk